Hello and welcome to our 6th episode of the Culture Hour. And my name is Shelley Smith, the owner of Premier Rapport.
And I'm Elizabeth Veliz, HR professional and Jedi Master.
Jedi Master. And we are so thrilled to welcome another guest today, and his name is Mike. He is the amazing, what is it that you call him, Elizabeth?
The Grand Poobah of Sales. Yes,
the Grand Poobah of Sales, Mike Dugan. I tell you, he's the president of Commonwealth Sales Advisors and Accelerator, and he truly is amazing at what he does. And he doesn't like it when I use the word sales because he doesn't feel like he's selling. And he's just an incredibly insightful individual, and he's going to give us great insight today in tidbits. But first, Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell the group a little bit who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks, Shelley, and thank you, Jedi Master. Can I call you Jedi if you're comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So thanks for having me on the program. I've seen it before. Honored to be here. I'm the president of Commonwealth Sales Advisors with Sales Acceleration. So we help small to medium-sized businesses from about $2 million, possibly down to $1 million, up to $50 million, beat their all-time sales records. How do we do that? We alleviate pain. The pain of not meeting your revenue. The pain of not knowing what your sales reps are doing, the pain of the revolving door of sales reps, where you've hired 3 sales reps in the past 12 months and they're all gone. And the pain of not having a growable, scalable infrastructure so we can simply plug and play. Oh, what's your goal for next year? I want to grow $1 million. They'll take 2 sales reps, $500,000 quota apiece. Boom, we've built an infrastructure for you. We've built an onboarding plan. We've built a definition of what is required. We will come in, recruit, hire, fire, onboard, train, lock and load, and you're ready to go. You're ready to scale. But before we can scale, before we can grow, we've got to build those systems and processes we call infrastructure. That's what I do. I eliminate sales headaches. My name's Mike Dugan, and I'm with Sales Acceleration.
Love. On a side note, before I forget, Mike is also speaking at the up-and-coming June 7th Disrupt HR, and he's got a great topic, which you just go online and register because you're not going to want to miss it. Great tidbits. So Mike, of course, this is the Culture Hour, so Elizabeth and I want to wrap this around culture. Tell us what, in that sales cycle, if you will, and the turnover that we see from every single industry is having turnover in the business development sales arena. So what can we do from a culture perspective to stop that bleed and to have that right match as you go into hiring folks and training them on the sales cycle that you do so well?
Right. So it's important, I think, to hold people accountable. Whether you're in sales or whether you're in another endeavor, you must hold people accountable. So we have to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
I'll get into that, and I'll talk more specifically about sales reps. So accountability is not rocket science, but it certainly is, in my humble opinion, a science. We have to first set expectations. And so if I come in and I want to set expectations for the Jedi Master or Shelley, if I dictate what the expectations are, you're thinking, these are Mike's expectations. So when we're setting expectations, I think it's critically important to gain buy-in from the person you're talking to. What are the expectations you're comfortable with, that I'm comfortable with? Help me understand what you think you can do this year. And they're not simply my expectations, they're the employees' expectations. And we get those down on paper. And then we review and we say, these look like a good set of expectations. You're comfortable with them. Yeah, I really am, Mike. And then we simply hold that individual accountable to those expectations over a period of time. So in sales, we measure things normally quarterly because a year is too long to wait. But the process that works best in sales is to review individually on weekly one-on-one meetings with sales representatives. In that weekly one-on-one meeting, here's what we agreed to. Here's where you are. Let's talk about it. And they know they're going to be held accountable every week. And we're not holding them accountable with a rubber hose and a bare bulb. We're simply having a dialogue. Okay. Yet every week, they know I'm going to bring in a list and we're going to measure it. And so additionally, we need leading indicators. So what's the leading indicator? Let me tell you what it's not. It's not a lagging indicator to say, hey, Bobby, you were supposed to sell $100,000 worth of product in April. You sold 75, you're low. That means you didn't make your, is my internet going okay? Because I have emails coming through.
Yeah, it's fine. We actually we lost Elizabeth, so we'll see if she pops back in. Go ahead.
Okay. So, we need to hold people accountable. And I kind of lost my train of thought in what I was talking about when we lost Elizabeth.
No, that's okay. We're going to keep going, and the audience is used to the things happen, so we're going to keep going. So, are there some suggested tips or wins from, let me back up. It sounds like you're describing an upfront agreement, if you will, on both parties, and that you're reinforcing that every single week. And so it doesn't get lost and get detracted. Is that right? Kind of an upfront agreement?
It is very imperative to meet with salespeople once a week. A one-on-one meeting as well as a collective meeting for the sales organization, perhaps with the CEO there if he or she can be there as well. But we've got to meet additionally one-on-one once a week. We've got to meet as a sales team once a week. And this is critically important for sales. Other endeavors don't require this, but sales needs that follow-up. I'm going to make a statement here. This is a little bit provocative, but I think I've earned the right to say it. Salespeople do two things and two things only, Shelley. Number one, they do what you pay them to do. And number two, they do what you measure. I was a sales rep many years ago, and that's what sales representatives do. Professional salespeople do that. Professional salespeople want quotas because they want to know where the finish line is. They need that quota. They feel empowered by that quota. They know the exact line they need to meet and or overachieve. So when we set these expectations and we set their quota, we try and put as much as we can into that compensation plan because our single biggest driver of salespeople is the compensation plan. That will drive their behavior. So it's important, critically important, we write that sales compensation plan to drive the exact behaviors we want. Unfortunately, when I walk into most small organizations, they don't know the behaviors they actually need because they have no sales process. We can get into that in a little bit.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Let me stop you there for a second. When you talk about, I'm definitely behavior motivated alignment and fit with an organization. Are there some tips that you can give? I mean, obviously, I use the predictive index piece to measure the behavioral side, but I don't want to put, I guess, everybody into the same bucket into what motivates them because it is definitely different. So how do you find or help find the right fit for the culture within these organizations before you get into the expectation side of it? Does that question make sense?
I think what I understand you saying, how do you recruit the right people on board?
Right. What are you doing? What are some suggestions?
Yeah. So I've gone into many organizations. They say, can you recruit a few people for me? And I say, yes.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for? And they throw out a couple things. And I say, well, why are you looking for those particular skills and abilities? They say, well, so help me understand why those particular skills or abilities are important to you so we can sell more stuff and get walk the consumer through the sales process. Mm-hmm. And they're scratching their head. And I say, well, if we try and recruit folks before we have a 5 or 6, maybe 7-step sales process, delineated into individual steps, a list of objectives that must be completed before we move to the next step, I don't know what I need to hire. And they say, right. I don't understand. I said, let me give you an example. If step 1 is building rapport, I need someone who can build rapport. I need someone who can build a relationship and connect. If step 3 is doing a PowerPoint presentation, one of the skill sets is I need someone who can speak in front of people. If there is some sort of technical expertise, like a SaaS software sale, I need to find someone who has at least enough technical ability to talk to those folks.
Right.
So I need to put all those skills and abilities in writing before I can go in and actually recruit for that person.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's not everything. Because as Stephen Covey said, and one of the other great management gurus, I think Peter Drucker said, culture eats everything else for lunch. Culture is arguably the most critical piece of your business.
Right.
So I look for things that are important to that culture. And most cultures have some similarities. Hard work, empathy, creativity. The list can go on and on.
Yeah.
You need to understand what's important for your particular culture as well. And then we go out with this very delineated list on paper and we recruit for that people. I work with a couple different recruiters. I work with one out of Dallas who's very good, who guarantees the product. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to find you someone who's going to fit into that mold. So that's step one. Step two is to reinforce this culture. Because if that's not the true culture in the corporation, and it's just lip service, and the behavioral culture is down here, it's not going to work. And furthermore, when a behavioral culture is not aligned with the verbal culture we hear, that creates distrust.
Right.
Now, it's a little bit different for salespeople because we measure them on performance. They know they're going to be measured on performance, and we develop the metrics to do that on a very consistent basis. But regardless, you could have a superstar, all the money you put into recruiting, all the money you put into training, all the money you put into everything else associated with that individual in your organization, they will leave, as you well know, if the culture is not the culture they thought it was, and if the culture is different than the verbalized culture, the actual culture.
And I have to say, it's not just the salespeople. That problem is every single.
Go ahead. Beyond, I think it goes beyond just salespeople. But one question that I wanted to ask you, and I apologize, guys, I had massive technical difficulty, so I'm back. One of the things that I heard you say early on when we started talking was how, you set this target and what do you think about this target? And this is what I think the target is. And what are the employees? That is a massive culture shift from back in the 90s when I was in sales for a couple of Fortune 500 companies where it was, oh, hi, welcome to the company. Here's your budget. Here's your quota. Right. And it was almost like a suck it up. Here's your quota. You have no say in that. Is that now? Because I've been out of the feet on the street sales for quite some time. Is that now what you're seeing, Mike, more of a collaborative approach to setting those kinds of targets for salespeople?
Excuse me. Unfortunately, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the standard that you described when you were in sales, you look like you're 22, so about 6 months ago, is still used today.
Yeah.
To a high degree, and I would say north of 85%.
Wow.
Now, if your question is, Mike, in your humble opinion, is that the right way to do it? I say, absolutely not. You say, Mike, is that the reason we have a lot of problems in small to mid-sized business sales? I say, yeah, likely. That's at least 50% of the problem.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's what happens. When we come in and dictate, here's what we want, and here are the expectations we've set. If that plan fails, it's Mike's plan. Mike, the sales manager, the VP of sales, or it's company XYZ's plan. That plan failed. But when it's their plan, we say, here's what we want you to do. What's the best way to do it? How do we get it? What's the right number to achieve? And it's their plan. Like, hey, Billy, I think this is a great plan. Then Billy's plan has failed if he doesn't make it. Billy doesn't want his plan to fail.
Right.
Exactly.
Salespeople have a lot of pride.
Right.
And sales is a noble endeavor because we take people who are here on the mountain and want to get here on the mountain, and they don't know how to get there. And a professional salesperson helps them get there. We are Sherpas to allow them to get from here to here on the mountain, to show them the correct path, because maybe if they take a direct route, they may freeze to death when a storm comes through. We show them the appropriate clothes to pack, and the noble endeavor of sales gets them from here to here. We have to find that delta, and many customers have pain, and that's what we do. But to your point, Jedi Master, I use that term with deference. it is critically important that the expectations have at least 50 to 60% buy-in. If you can get it up to 80, great.
Yeah.
By the individual. Whether you're in sales or another endeavor, I can't speak outside sales, but in sales, that's critically important.
Well, the great news is all of the tips that you gave today are completely what every single employee needs, wants, and desires. From a culture standpoint, everybody wants to belong and feel like they have purpose and value. From an expectations, I haven't met anybody yet that doesn't want clear expectations. So I think the tips that you gave are spot on for everybody. And I think that's, what we want to take away from today is those are all great trips. Wow. You're having technical problems. I'm having brain technical problems. From the speech.
You're tripping right now.
Woo. But the expectations of clarity, because then it's really comfortable to be held accountable and to do the accountability holding because we're all on the same page. So the message I heard was an upfront agreement of expectations is number one. Number two is the communication piece, that we are meeting frequently to find out where are we getting stuck, where do we need to keep going, what tools, resources, tips, training that we need. Yes.
And interestingly enough, Shelley, if you think about all of our sessions, right, we're on episode 6. Mm-hmm. Every single one of the topics that we have talked about, at the end of the day, it comes down to that communication piece. And I don't want people to think communication is, well, I talk to my people every day. That's great that you talk to your people every day. But what is the context? What is the substance of that talking to people? Are you setting expectations? Are you then having frequent discussions around where you are in comparison to those expectations? What are your barriers? What can I do as your leader to support you and remove those barriers? One of the things that I've been talking a lot to people about lately is, what are the skills, education, activities, experiences that you need? And by the way, that's not mine. That's Adrian Gostick and Chester Elton's Best Team Wins. What are those things that you need in order to achieve those expectations? So it has been a constant theme, regardless of what our topic of discussion has been. Yeah. That has been a constant theme. Communicate expectations, communicate progress towards those expectations, be nice, have empathy, and you're going to see the best out of your people. Do you agree with that, Mike?
I love it to death. I just can't say I'm violently in agreement with you. Let me add a couple things. Okay. We have to ensure the back end is held with accountability. And we need to ensure that that accountability has repercussions and they understand what the repercussions are. Yeah. We can't just say, oh, you didn't make your number and we pull the carpet out from under them. Yeah. We need to share with them up front what the repercussions are.
Yeah.
And, Shelley hit on a good point as well. And she said, frequent meetings. I'd like to, from a sales perspective, tweak that word and call them regularly scheduled weekly meetings at the same time.
Yes.
If it's Friday at 1:00, then it's every Friday at 1:00. Yes. And you've got to make that a priority meeting.
Yeah,
because these people...
There's nothing more important. I get so frustrated when I'm doing executive coaching or helping teams and they've canceled their department meetings. I don't get that. They canceled
or their one-on-ones, or they cancel their one-on-ones.
What could be possibly, if the building's not burning down, and I use a lot of analogies around firefighting, but literally if the building's not burning down, why would you cancel your one-on-one meeting to receive and give feedback? It literally makes my head pop off like a squeegee, whatever those thingies are called. You have to do the start, stop, and continue conversations all the time.
I know.
Like you said, consistently, and it shouldn't be rescheduled. It makes no sense. There's nothing more important than those conversations.
But beautiful ladies.
But Shelley and Mike, I'm so busy. I have a big job. I've got so much to do. I don't have time. I mean,
because you're firefighting.
Yeah.
That's why.
And it's a vicious cycle.
Yes,
It's a vicious
And it
cycle.
is.
it is.
And so, you know, part of accountability and expectations is to hold ourselves to the appropriate expectation of self-discipline.
Thank you.
And,
Yes.
and
Thank
hold
you.
ourselves accountability as well. And as you beautiful ladies know, as I was about to say, we're always communicating. I mean, I don't have to say a word. And if I don't show up for the meeting, if I miss half the meetings in the month, if the meeting's at Friday, 1 o'clock, I'm communicating that I don't value you. I don't value this time. This is not prioritized. And how can I ever hold somebody accountable if they miss a meeting?
Yep.
So we need to do it. We need to make it a priority. And I'll further say that we should have a consistent outline of what is to be expected and what's to be covered at this meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be a long meeting. If the meeting can happen in 15 minutes, we can do it. But if it takes 45 minutes, we do it. And we schedule at least an hour. And we say, here's what we're going to review. Please come. So for reviewing the pipeline, they need to get on the electronic CRM and say, wow, Mike, I've got 14 deals stuck in step 7, and I've got 2 deals stuck in step 2. And I say, okay, well, step 7 is the technical piece, or step 7 may be closing. We need training in closing, Jennifer.
Exactly.
And Jennifer says, well, yeah, I think I need help in closing because that's where the funnel's backed up.
Right.
But
And
a
I'm
more-
gonna have to, because of our audience, and we promise to keep, I know we can keep going on, and you guys can tell that Mike is very passionate and an expert at what he does. But I'm going to put a wrap on the Culture Hour this week. If you want more from Mike, which if you're not convinced by now, you need more from Mike. I don't know what you're waiting on. But Mike, how can they best find you to get a hold of you if they want to have more of Mike? What is that?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia Beach. I serve all of the Hampton Roads area out to Richmond. You can call me at area code 757-679-4321 or M Dugan, letter M, D is in Delta, U is in uniform, G is in golf, A is in alpha, N is in November. M Dugan at Sales Acceleration, sales and then acceleration with an X.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I will have that down below, running ticketing. You can stop and pause on the video as well. So again, I want to announce also our next week, our guest is Gail Miller. Gail Miller is a famous TED Talk individual powerhouse. She's also going to be one of the speakers at the full day strategic conference for Penn Sherm at CNU in September. So we can't wait to have the conversation with Gail Miller. Again, we thank you, Mike, for being our guest today. I am one of your hosts, Shelley Smith, the owner of Premier Rapport, everything about culture matters, and
Elizabeth Veliz, HR professional. Thank you guys so much.
thank you. Mike, thank you again. Audience, thank you. Don't forget, send us in your questions. We're easy to find. Elizabeth and I are all over LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. You can find us. I know you want to find us. You can find us. Until then, peace out. Remember, culture matters. Have a good day.